Live audio.
All right. Hello, and I would like to welcome everyone to Idaho Springs, August 22nd, 2022 work session. And we are going to kick things off with the Quarry update. Alan, please take it away.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me today. I have one of my associates here, Joel Bolduck. He's our land and environment manager. He's been with me now for almost 3 years and helping me build a legacy with compliance and regulation and PR and the whole 9 yards and a part of this process. Andy, how you doing? I thought you guys might want to take excessive notes on my presentation, so I brought you some swag. These are actually little notepads, and what's cool about them is they're made out of the paper is made out of rock.
Is it really?
Yeah, so there's a cool little story on the front page there. So yeah, literally, it's kind of funny. So understand you guys have a busy agenda tonight. We can kind of burn through this pretty quick. If you guys you have a pressing question, you can. Hi, Scott. You can interrupt me if you want. We can hold them till the end. But we've got a little PowerPoint presentation prepared for you guys, and some of you have heard some of the work that we've been working on. Almost it's been a 2.5 year, 3-year process, but we kind of wanted to tell you guys a little bit about Albert Fry & Sons for the ones that don't know us, and I'll kind of make it kind of quick. So Joel's going to share our little presentation. Hey, John. I don't recognize Carrie.
Oh. So it does look like you're on over at that camera.
Oh, okay.
All right. So
And then that's live on there.
the big
It's live on there.
John can see.
Good.
Jim, what's here? Jim, come over.
I need to share. Got great cooking next to the old tough guy now. How are you doing, man?
Jim's our
Yeah.
No.
Well, thanks for having us today. For those that don't know me and folks online, my name is Al Fry Jr. I'm president of Albert Fry & Sons. It's hard to believe I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I've been employed at Albert Fry & Sons for over 30 years now, which is kind of crazy because I've only had one job in my whole life. Guys probably see me in the quarry when I was running around as a little guy. But we just kind of want to tell you, who we are, what we do, why we're here, talking about the spur, and kind of give you a little flavor of stuff that we've done. The next slide there is a kind of a picture of my grandfather on the left there. His name was Joe of all things, but the main thing, I'll say that another day. But Fritz Fry, as they call him, he was a Swiss immigrant. Immigrated here shortly after the war and started a little farm in Henderson. He realized real quick that it was a lot more profitable to mine the gravel that was underneath his farm than grow the beans. The picture in the middle there was the first day that they started the sign back in 1962 at the original gravel pit. That's my dad on the far right, my uncle on the left, and then today the 5 Fry children who are all actively involved in the family business today. A little bit about community engagement. Many of you know we're a very active corporate stakeholder in the community. These are some of the most notable things that we've done in the past and plan on continuing to grow in the future. The big one is the Touch Truck event. If you haven't attended that, that's become a big success. Last September, we had over 600 attendees that basically we get to bring the equipment out of the quarry. We gather all kinds of stakeholders, tow trucks, the Charlie's Place, the fire department, Empire Fire Department, Idaho Springs, the whole 9 yards. Get everybody together, let all the kids climb on the tractors and even the big kids can enjoy that. Project Bike Tech, our Quick Creek Rotary Club, and Albert Fry & Sons were pretty much the sole sponsors to give the seed money to the school district to start that program that has a very strong influence on vocational careers for kids, kind of modern day auto mechanics. And the last one was the Quick Creek Collaborative Care Center. You guys are all very familiar with that. While I'm not a big stone donor, it was a big ask for us to contribute to that. And we're really proud that, Quick Creek citizens now have access to better healthcare and a facility that can help do that. You know, I sat in this meeting with several of the folks when we were doing that whole thing. One that actually just came to mind this year, Chuck, you can probably remember this. You know, I sat on the Idaho Springs Historical Society for almost 2.5, 3 years. And this was fun because when I was there, at that time, I don't know who's taking care of it now, but the Historical Society was responsible for maintenance of the cemetery right up the road. And that's actually David Plummer's gravesite, which was the original mayor of Idaho Springs. So I was able to come in and say, no, let's get this fixed up. And some of you may know that's Walt Gross actually there in the far corner there, a long time resident. He helped me fix up that wall and preserve the historical gravesite. Those are kind of things that we do as, you know, it's part of my mission to get involved with the community. This is another good photo of some folks that this used to be the Clear Creek Watershed Association. Actually, David Holm, he was a former DRMS inspector, and then Ed Rapp there on the side. For about 6 or 7 years, we partnered together on doing mine remediation throughout the county. And this was a project up in Empire. And most notably, go to the next slide there, Joel. You know, we've done some significant improvements in Clear Creek and most notably in Idaho Springs here. One was working with the watershed, Trout Unlimited, on the Fishing is Fun. Is that the next slide? Yeah. So the Fishing is Fun, they did a big improvement there. So they used to do the Watershed Foundation day. They'd have all the kids down there fishing, but all of those river improvements were all thanks to, you know, a big consortium of groups that do it, but that's Fry Rock in the river, you know, and all the donations that went there. And then the other notable one is down the road at Gilson Gulch, which is, you know, the east end of town there. That was a drainage that was severely eroded. That's kind of ironic that that's actually Bob Young Sr. right there. And they worked on that project to help, you know, prevent the erosion of that gully through. But there's, you know, a couple thousand tons of fried boulders in that channel. We also, the Peaks to Plains is a big movement. The trail, you know, eventually comes through. We've been kind of partnering and collaborating with the Clear Creek Canyon for years, if not decades. This was one of the first projects I did, you know, when I had some sense of responsibility with my father. Was, I don't know, some of you may remember the old mine tailings that used to be in Clear Creek when they had the dredges come through the canyon there. There were just piles of rock. We worked with Central City to remove those and replace them with wetlands. So that, like, you see that little bridge there? I personally put that bridge in 1999. We removed all the spoils from the dredge, and then the purpose was Central City needed to replace some wetlands up at the Chase Gulch Reservoir, just west of Central City. That's what it looked like then. This is kind of what it looks like now in 2021. And then we've got, and at the same time, Trout Unlimited again was looking for some help to help, you know, improve the wildlife habitat in the river. As you can go to the next slide there, Joel, kind of see what it looks like today. So, you know, we helped plant willows by hand and built that whole wetlands to the left there. And then you can see all the rock drainages that come through there. Now kind of on to who we are. You know, some of you have met, we're fortunate enough to meet my dad, you know, a classic entrepreneur, you know, and he watched 5 quarries down in Jefferson and Boulder County, all trying to get permitted unsuccessfully. He said, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. And in 1982, he put an option and bought 115 acres there from Violet Wallstrom, which was an elderly lady from California, of all places, and was actually successful in getting the permit in 1983. Him and my family, we amended the permit in 2002 to 285. And before my dad passed, one of his last successful things that he was really proud of was the finished mill building there. And that's actually Dad standing on some ground he surveyed for the 2002 amendment. And that's actually my dad on the left in the bulldozer the very first day they started the quarry. You know, so why is the quarry important? You know, we all drive through it every day. It's like, you know, some days it looks better than others, but, you know, we have our impacts down there, but it also has some beneficial impacts. And the most notable thing that's occurred in the last, literally, the quarry's been operating for over 40 years now, is that resource has become very valuable to Colorado and the Front Range. And in the early 70s, they were mining rock and Golden and Arvada. And those alluvial sand and gravel deposits were about 80% coarse material, 20% sand. And so all the ready mix producers, asphalt producers, you know, it was relatively economical to mine that stone close into the market. Well, now fast forward to 2020, they're mining alluvial aggregates now north of Fort Lupton, almost to Milliken. And when you get that far out there, the reserves, the little reserve change now to 20% rock, 80% sand. So now all the demand for the whole Front Range is being pushed onto the crushed stone quarries. And so that's where the Wallstrom quarry, and then there's 4 other quarries, that do a good job as well. The Ralston quarry, the Spec Ag quarry there in Golden, the Morrison quarry, and then the Wallstrom quarry. Between the 4 of us, we produce, close to about 10 to 15 million tons of coarse aggregate per year. But we're the only 4. Our quarry was the first greenfield quarry permitted in '83, the last quarry amended in 2002, and probably the last one to be amended. So they're not permitting any new quarries anytime soon. And you can see what some of the other producers and new folks are trying to permit, because there's a very strong demand for quarries. That's why we promote, let's support and foster and encourage the existing ones that are there that have the impacts. Let's kind of build those up. And it even gets exacerbated even more. I don't know if anybody's driven Highway 285 on a Tuesday afternoon. There's a producer shipping by truck all the Fairplay aggregate deposits up there, the old mill tailings. They're actually mining those and trucking them from Fairplay into Denver. That requires about 45 trucks that do 2 trips a day on Highway 285. They're also bringing aggregate in from Cheyenne, big super quarry up there. So, we always want to start like, well, let's get our natural resources from Colorado. Let's keep them, from coming out of state. And then also, we all have impacts, but the idea of 90 miles via truck, and the impacts that causes versus fostering the local quarries that are closer to the market. Now, like I said, we produce on average about 3 million tons a year. Last year we did 3.3 million tons. We're getting close to 41 years of constant operation of the quarry. What do we do there? We drill and blast, we load and haul, we crush, we screen, and then we maintain. Right now we have 97 full-time employees at Albert Fry & Sons. At the quarry, it's right around 60, and all of these people help build and support those main items, whether it's maintenance, back office folks, sales folks, scale folks, and mostly equipment operators. Of those 60 that work at the quarry, it's up to about 20 now live in Clear Creek County, and actually about 6 or 7 that live in the city of Idaho Springs. Some of the BMPs, best management practices that we do. We have a full-time water truck. We actually have 2 water trucks in case one breaks. For all the unpaved surfaces, for dust control. Probably seen our little sweeper running around the quarry every time we drive by. For all the paved surfaces, we have over 50 water sprays spread throughout the whole crushing facilities. That's a really high-tech, high-pressure, low-volume type of dust suppression. You kind of see how fine the mists are. And then lastly, is the enclosures that we put around all of our crushing and screening equipment. That's an expense that we don't necessarily have to incur, but what that does is it keeps all the dust, the noise, and maybe some of the unsightly things of a crusher stand that nobody really knows what it looks like. When people drive by, a lot of times we get folks that drive in, it's like, is this the casino? Or is this the old Argo stuff? Because it has a little bit of a architectural feel of the old, mining and mill sites and stuff like that. Moving into the modern day, this is really cool. That's a hybrid wheel loader. We were the first operation in the state of Colorado to have a wheel loader like that. Now it's a big one. It's a 10-yard bucket, but in essence, it's basically a Prius of the heavy equipment. It consumes 40% less diesel fuel than the comparable one. So we like to tout that a little bit. It costs more, but in our mind, it's fun to have that in our repertoire of ways that we can mitigate the impacts of the chemical. What do we do? You guys know it. You see our product everywhere. It's out there on the train. It's gravel, stone, riprap, fine aggregate, road bases. It pretty much goes everywhere. Go to the next slide there as well. And then these are the most notable projects that we've done that, over the history of the quarry. The first one in the middle there is in 2001, we supplied all the coarse aggregate for the international runway out at DIA. That was about 500,000 ton of coarse aggregate for FAA specs. What people don't know is that runway is the second biggest runway in the world. It's fascinating. When they finished it, I got to put my handprint in a fresh batch of concrete at the end of the runway. DIA is master planned for 13 runways, and they have 5 right On the left, there is another one. We supplied all of the light rail projects with all of their railroad ballast and all of their subgrade materials. Next time you ride a light rail train down in Denver, look down on the tracks. That stone came from the Washington Quarry in Clear Creek County. And then little other projects like vehicle tracking material. That's on every job site across the state of Colorado. We do a lot of water resource projects. That's the Welton Reservoir in Arvada. And then that lower middle photo, it's actually a good cross section of where all of our stuff goes. That's right down on County Road 314 there. So you've got the interstate highway on the left. Our material goes in the asphalt, retaining walls. You've got Clear Creek in the middle for erosion control and drainage. You've got the path there for recreational uses. And on the right, you have all of our stone veneer that all came from the quarry. And the last one was the new football field up at the high school. We were able to collaborate with the school district and really basically help them economically build that turf, which is, in my mind, one of the most beautiful fields, in the mountains. It is gorgeous to watch a football game up there. So the other things we did, the 2013 flood was a catastrophic time for many of the mountain communities. This was in the Hooter Canyon. And you can see the devastation that it caused on the left there. Well, really, frankly, after 1 or 2 days, we finally got our place cleaned up. But you guys know how bad, what's the road right down the road here? Creek. Yeah, Soda Creek flood, all the flood. So we were able to get our quarry back up and operational in CDOT, City of Idaho Springs, Clear Creek County. All these folks were at our door, emergency POs, trying to get these roads back open so they could get people in and out of there. And then eventually they restored the road. So this was, I think that's Highway 7. I can't remember what to call it names. But you can see all the fried riprap on the side after they repaired it. And then the last one that we're really excited about is the Peaks to Plains trail. Our aggregates are peppered everywhere on that trail. We were able to collaborate with the county back in 2012. We actually owned the skinny little piece of land right at the little oxbow. And we're able to basically do a land swap with Clear Creek County to give them full access and have the whole stretch of the right of way for the trail to get from Loveland all the way to DIA. So we're really proud of it. We're really excited that our materials are there everywhere. So why are we here today? And it's mostly related to geology. So the quarry has approximately, if it was all good rock, has another 30 plus years of permitted reserves in the quarry. But most of that permitted reserve is biotite schist, which is the material up there on the left. And then the material on the right is biotite gneiss. The gneiss is high grade material. When I amended the permit back in 2002, schist and gneiss were all kind of met all the specifications and everything was good. Well, now the consumers of our product, mostly CDOT, has changed the specifications. And CDOT does not meet a lot of the project's requirements for quality material for, like, example, highway pavement out here. We do lots of other jobs, but it's mostly high spec asphalt jobs. We still sell for concrete, just not asphalt. So in essence, the quarry is running out of reserves because we have very little gneiss left. So on the right there, that little, those are core samples of stuff that we cored on what we call the Wallstrom Spur. And the beautiful thing is, thanks to my dad and vision, we were able to acquire some buffer land around the existing quarry. And thankfully, the buffer land contains this high grade feldspar gneiss, interbedded gneiss, and orangewood gneiss. So that's when we get to this photo here. So this is our mining map that we submitted to the DRMS, basically the whole regulatory reclamation process at the state level. And it kind of shows, so the red is the existing quarry that's permitted today. It's about 285 acres. The yellow is the spur area, which is about, we'll add 229 acres to the affected area of the quarry. And then the green you see around there is what we kind of call the canyon preservation, wildlife habitat, and habitat or migration corridors, and also viewshed protection. A good little note on this is that we notice you haven't seen the word expansion anywhere in this presentation. A lot of people call it the Wallstrom Spur expansion. We're not asking for any more truck traffic increases. We're not asking for any more our air permit expansion. We're not planning on any increases in production. We're just changing the affected area so that we can move our mine into some of this higher grade material and continue our blend. And then also down on the bottom down there, when I'm done here, I'll give you guys a pamphlet, but when we started this process almost 2 years ago, we started a website called the walshramspur.amendment.com. And basically it's a website that people can go to, they can see updates, they can understand about the project, and they can also go in there and fill out, questions, answers. And so those get sent to us so that when people come to us, we can concisely address some issues or get comments from these folks. The Spur Amendment, the most notable thing different about the Spur Amendment, and again, many of you have seen the quarry mature over the years. When my dad started, we had to slice our way into the quarry. And so reclamation wasn't an option because you get a slice out of there and then you have to go back up and start all over it. So now that the quarry is matured, we've been able to work our way into the quarry. Now we go to the top and we conduct what we call concurrent reclamation. When you get to the top, you start mining, then you come down, then you start backfilling, then you start amending the soil, then you start planting it, and you keep working these benches down. And when you drive by every day, you can see all those upper benches. They're all green and looking really good. So as the quarry matures and comes down, we will continue that concurrent reclamation. When we started the Spur process, I've been through this a few times, and I understand the hot buttons, and I understand that we have a reputation and a legacy to maintain. So when we started this, we basically I hired professional engineers, scientists, consultants. Joelle came on board when we started this, and I told them that we need a comprehensive application that leaves no stone unturned. We're willing to invest in all aspects of this, so we have a good application, and that turned out to be 2,000 pages at the state level. And with these 30 professionals, some of the highlights of this application were our geotechnical exhibit. So we drilled, almost 2,000 vertical feet of core. We allocated about 30% of the budget because, we're in the mineral belt area. We needed to confirm that there were no heavy minerals in the area. We needed to confirm that the quality of the reserve was there. And then we also needed to design a mine plan that was very modern and had expertise with engineering and science back behind it. Some of the other things, Jared, I also sent, I gave a copy of our economic impact form, and you guys, it's a lengthy document, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But basically it says the economic, in summary, it says the Walshram Quarry today basically contributes to about $2 to $2.5 million worth of economic impact in Clear Creek County, and almost 10 million in economic impact for the Front Range. So you think about it, those trucks, yeah, they're a nuisance at times. Someone's got to change those tires. So who changes those tires? We need auto parts. Where do we buy them? We buy them from Napa down the street. Back in the day, we used to buy all our fuel from Blackwell. Now we've kind of outgrown it. But those are the impacts that go into this report that we generate. It's a great read. It really tells about it. And one little side note that I think is really important for municipal and county government and stakeholders is to understand the impact that the pandemic had on the economies. Everybody understood what it did. They basically shuttered the whole county. They closed every county road because everybody was camping in the woods. Well, the Henderson and Fry and really, I don't know many others that were still operational. We were deemed a critical business, because they needed to fix up the roads. And that was great that Henderson was still going, but we know the story of what's happening at Henderson. So the county and the municipalities around here have to mitigate their impacts when something like this happens. Hopefully it will never happen again, but they need a diverse economy. And that is the key to the Walshram Quarry. In my mind, the Walshram Quarry is the next Henderson mine. And if we're successful with this amendment, this will lead into long-term sustainable economy for Clear Creek County. Another one that we get a lot of questions about is wildlife and the impacts to our wildlife at the quarry and around the surrounding area. I spent 18 months with a wildlife specialist specifically studying the bighorn sheep at the quarry. The resident herd there of about 30 to 40, the Golden herd or the subsection of the Georgetown herd from Golden all the way to Idaho Springs there is 100 plus animals. In 1983, there were no bighorn at the quarry. They transplanted some bighorn from Georgetown down there. It was about the same time the quarry started. It turns out that the bighorn actually really like the quarry. They habitate there everywhere, and it's kind of backed by science in this another lengthy report that says, we're building bighorn sheep habitat with our reclamation area. If you do it right, they're going to stay there. We have evidence of that. This is a part of our reclamation plan, 32 acres. I think we're actually up to almost 40 now this year. We have designed the reclamation plan to enhance the bighorn sheep habitat. We build steep terrain. We have a water guzzler up top, and our seed mix is very specifically designed for shrubs and woody plants, which are preferred by the bighorn. The good news is our reclamation plan in our mind is working. And these are some game camera photos we got. And then the two bottom photos are just photos we take when you drive up. The bighorn love it there. The rut season is actually, upcoming here in October. They hang out right in the quarry entrance with all of the trucks, all the noise, all the blasting, and we cohabitate with these 30 animals every year. It's really it's a fun little aspect of our operation down there. One of the, another way, so again, we're acknowledging that we have impacts in our operation, and we have to outweigh the pros and cons and benefits and impacts. And we know that, and so one of the big, somebody was trying to develop the Floyd Hill Meadow up at the top of Floyd Hill. And I live up there, I'm involved with communities, and they didn't like that very much. And the developer was talking to us about materials. I said, listen, I'm not involved with this, but if this doesn't work out, you let me know. I can be your little backstop, because if I could conserve this meadow, I think it would bode very well for our community to help offset the fact, including that one little elk that we got a picture of that's jumping there. He's really happy that, so what we've committed to in our application is that if the spur amendment is approved, we've also got basically internal approval from Mountain Area Land Trust that they would take this land under conservation as an impact for some of the view shed impacts and the wildlife impacts that we have on the spur. So in summary, the quarry's been there for 40 years. We've done the best we can and continue to strive to improve to be a good operation, but we need the spur amendment to continue the legacy of our family and our business in Clear Creek County. It's located in a perfect spot. It's down at the end of the county. It's right off an industrial corridor, and it's close to the Denver market, and all of the infrastructure is in place. All of the truck turn lanes. It's become kind of just accepted generally to the community that, well, there's the quarry down there, but there's very little residential encroachment because of my dad and the investment that we've made on all the buffer around there. And so it's a great place to continue this type of business. This is a cool photo. I actually picked this up. This was when Jared Polis signed the Colorado infrastructure bill. I don't know all the details of it, but he's over there in the left lower right corner signing the bill. When they took this picture, it was really funny because that's the Floyd Hill Bridge with the Amazon truck on it. The Amazon truck is the quintessential, part of our living economy now, but they need roads and infrastructure to get there. So we like to believe that we're a part of it with a raft coming down the middle of the creek, so it kind of encompasses what our community, what our business is about, and it all in one big picture and why the spur is important. So this amendment continues the mining legacy of Clear Creek County. So in November last year, we went through about a 12-month process with the DRMS. We were very pleased with it. We had one objector, and basically we're successful in getting our reclamation permit amended at the DRMS. So what's our next step? So now we have to amend our ODP, original development plan with Clear Creek County. And that process, again, we've been working on meeting with a few stakeholders, helping understand some of the hot buttons with our application, trying to receive input and mold our application. So we're actually in the next few weeks prepared to submit our application to Clear Creek County, in which that will start the application process. And within that, we also have a full-blown public outreach process, which is something kind of like this. We've met with some of the neighborhoods around there, the Clear Creek Economic Development Corp. UCWA has had a visit by us. All of those people, we're soliciting input, and then somebody may not like this, but we're trying to listen to see how we can mold our application, put this together. And that's really the kind of the update on the spur amendment. got some little cards on YouTube, but I'd love to answer any questions for you guys and, if there's anything we can do to, you know, keep it going forward here.
Thanks, Al. We'll open it up to council. Any questions for Al?
Sorry, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
Al, you did say that you were starting reclamation on the existing quarry. And is that top down? Is that what it's gonna be like? And so the finished product is guaranteed on some piece of paper. Someplace it says it's gonna absolutely be returned to a natural state as humanly possible?
Yeah, so the reclamation is jurisdictional by the state.
Right.
Right now, we have a $1.1 million bond at the DRMS based on our plan. So if we were to go bankrupt or walk away, the state takes that money and they reclaim it as our plan states, you know? And so the way you see it coming down is really good, and it's voted quite well with the DRMS. We're really hopeful actually to get a reclamation award because we're so proud of it. It's doing so well.
Do you think a $1 million bond is gonna be enough to actually reclaim the entire site if anything untoward happens?
I think it's enough. And I think the specialists and the professionals that calculate those bonds think it's enough.
Could we, that would just be one of the things I'd like to see get on paper by somebody from the state, if you don't mind.
Mhm. Yeah, we can provide you the full exhibit. It's about 25 pages. It says a Caterpillar D9 bulldozer costs this much per hour. According to your plan, you're going to slope these benches down. It's going to cost this much per bulldozer. According to your reclamation plan, you have to use this specific, very expensive seed on your plan. And so they have to do all that and they calculate all that, and we can give you the reclamation cost estimate. And then also the DRMS is experts in this field.
I know Young's Ranch is actually going in for a quarry too, so I got on the border, and I know that they also talked about reclamation. And it sounds like it's mandated by the state, so
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, the DRMS is professional. They've been in business since the 70s to prevent some of these, you know, mine things that happened, you know, pre-1900s. You know, their business is
I
to
live
make
here,
sure,
so I'm aware.
yeah, to make sure that these mines get reclaimed and aren't environmental disasters like the historic mine.
I do have one other question for you, and it might be more of a statement. So the quarries in Fairplay, they're not technically quarries, they're actually quarried rock that they're bringing to the Front Range and going south as well. And I imagine down the Salado, Buena Vista. Do you think that that's less expensive to do something that's already been quarried and move it than it is to quarry it and then move it? Or is
I
it
can
like,
tell you
kind of
that-
like, does it break even?
So those Fairplay mines, those are actual alluvial deposits. They're sand and gravel from the glacier days. So our stuff we blast, drill, and crush. So those are crushed stones. It's a little cheaper to mine and process, but I can tell you it's not economically feasible to bring it 90 miles by truck.
Well, it's not only coming to the Front Range though, sorry, it's also going down south as well.
Oh,
I
yeah,
just
so
was
they
curious.
supply, you
I
know,
see it, I'm on 285 all the time.
yeah, so you see all those trucks,
Yeah.
you know, and so someday they may be going over Hoosier Pass into Summit County because they have no more aggregate there.
Right.
Believe it or not, I'm actually shipping road base to the Dale project
Yeah,
because there's nothing.
I'm
left in
just curious,
Summit
because I know weighing that between quarrying it, moving it, and the gas prices as they are, I just was curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. That proves actually the largest customer of ours. And this year they had to shift some more demand on us because it was too expensive to ship it from Fairplay because of the high diesel price.
Yeah, I can't imagine getting over Hoosier behind a quarry truck, so that's fine.
Art, I think you had a question.
Yeah, well, first of all, they just, those structures run on Tuesday. The ones on 285, is that what you suggested?
They run all week.
They run that all the time, yeah.
Yeah, 6 days a week.
I have a granddaughter, daughter, run that road at the time. They're walking, those trucks are awful. All those trucks are awful. You mentioned there's pros and cons. What are some of the cons?
The cons of the Spur Amendment, I think that there's really two prevalent cons. I think the one is view shed. So everybody's used to seeing the quarry where it's at, and kind of west facing. You know, as the spur, like a spur on a boot comes around, you know, you come down I-70, you're going to be able to see some affected area more than what you see today coming down I-70. That's a con. You know, we can't put lipstick on the pig. You know, it's going to look a little different there. I think the other con, I guess, trucks. You know, those trucks, nobody likes them. That's really the only complaint that we get out of our quarry for the most part is all the trucks going down the canyon, you know, and especially now with the with the peaks to plains, you know, people are like, well, we can't even walk on the path because the trucks going down the canyon are so prevalent. And I get that, and I'm sensitive to it. I do it, you know, but you know, there has to be a balance, you know, and what people don't understand is, you know, the quarry's been there for 40 years. When Dad started shipping trucks down a canyon, it was a ghost road. Now they've got gaming, now they've got the trails, now they've got rafting, they've got all that, but we have to figure out how to collaborate together. You know, our trucks go down there from 5 a.m. till 4 p.m, typically 6 days a week. You know, Quaker County passed an ordinance for requirement enforcement of exhaust brake mufflers on the trucks. You know, I was the only person that participated. I support it. Now, am I in the business of enforcing all the trucks that come out of my operation and looking down their tailpipe to see if they have an exhaust brake? You know, that's hard for me to do. You know, we leave that to the professionals to enforce, but we're proactively getting involved with that. I think, am I missing any cons?
Well, I was just gonna mention on the traffic down the canyon, the I-70 Floyd Hill project is gonna open up a eastbound on-ramp right under where that picture with the Amazon truck was taken. And that will transfer some of the traffic from Highway 6 to I-70. We don't know exactly how much, but we would expect 20 to 40% would change.
It's not actually your trucks, no, independent. Right?
Not necessarily. Some of our customers require us to deliver the material, so we contract with the trucks. So we pay them to come to our site, pick up it, and deliver it. The other 50% is our customers that send their own trucks to our place, pick up their material, and then redistribute it back into their demand.
You have a lot of control over the.
Yeah, it makes it really difficult, you know, understanding where and how they're coming from and compliance out on the road. But, you know, we cooperate with those guys all the time, you know, during all the construction in the canyon, the DOT department, the portable scales that basically do all check weights on the trucks. They didn't have anywhere to park in the canyon to check the weights on the trucks. And so, you know, they kind of asked, like, can we set up our scales across the street? You know, imagine a private landowner saying, hey, the guys are going to come check all your trucks. And I said, yeah, set up there. I said, I want my guys complying with the rule of the law, you know, and for the most part, we have a really good group of freight partners. They are quality. Now, you know, every bushel has a bad apple, but, you know, we're really proud of our freight partners because there are eyes out there. It's what everybody sees is those trucks. And you'll notice that the red ones and the blue ones, they're clean, modern trucks, you know, and they really take good care of their stuff, at least the ones that we contract with.
Can you explain a little bit about the tax impact that your company provides for the county?
Yeah, so hopefully you guys can get that economic impact. We have it. It's a great read. But in essence, the impact, so we pay about $2.5 million a year just in personal and property tax. And then, so that's money that goes right to the county in the general fund. And then there's the ancillary impacts, like when I buy a starter from Napa, you know, it's sales tax Iowa Springs, that's an income to the operator of the Napa Auto Parts. So you start expanding what that looks like. You know, the other ones, your equipment. Well, the equipment, so the quarry actually lies in the enterprise zone. And then we're also manufacturing. So we don't sell very much material outside of resale. So there's not a whole lot of sales tax on the material or the personal property tax on the mining equipment that's used for manufacturing. Someday when that opportunity zone goes away, you know, it's a balance, right? So in my mind, you know, yeah, we're maybe paying a little bit less for personal property tax there, but how do we afford this? You know, last year, the combination of all of our charitable contributions is over $500,000, you know, over, you know, a 8-year period, you know, so we like to share the love where it goes, but the tax impact just keeps growing. And then if we have the spur, so we still pay a form of personal property tax, we just don't pay sales tax on equipment we buy. But if we have the spur and we have another 50 years of guaranteed reserves that will guarantee that, we're going to continue to invest in the best equipment, the best people. And then you start to think about all the wages of the guy. We just hired a night shift mechanic, lives here in Idaho Springs, used to work at the mine. Now he's coming back for us. You know, his starting wage is $31 an hour. After 90 days, we pay 100% of the employees' benefits and 20% of their dependents. We have a 4% profit sharing match, and also a 401k match, and then a significant profit sharing. For the last 5 years, it's been 25% of our employees' gross income. So like that's how we've managed to come out of the pandemic pretty well, because we have turnover that's, you know, very little. Tom Reynolds is the quarry superintendent, Colorado or Idaho Springs native. He's been at the quarry for 38 years. Grew up right in town here, you know. Several of those stories, we have very little turnover because we really value taking care of our people. But you think about the tax impact. So that guy that lives in Idaho Springs, now he's got a good job. He's got good benefits. Now maybe he can't afford a house in Idaho Springs. And maybe he'll shop at Safeway. And maybe he'll buy a lift ticket at Loveland. So you start to think about those impacts of having a diverse economy, you know, across the board. For that economic report does a good job, and we'll share that with you.
I saw Jared raise his hand. We have copies, right?
Yep, just to build on that, Mr. Fry sent me a copy of a couple different documents, and I just haven't distributed them, but if you're interested, please let me know, or I can just blast them out to the entire council, either one.
All right. All right,
One more.
Lisa.
So when you say the quarry that you have now is about 5 years with the goods, is it nice?
Mm-hmm.
So is part of your it's a two-part question. Is part of your reclamation project like working through that 5 years and then reclaiming that part as you move to the spur?
It will be kind of concurrent because we need to get to that nice ASAP. If we don't get to the nice ASAP, we're going to probably go from 3 million tons to maybe 500,000 or 1 million tons, selling road base and some ancillary concrete materials, but we will not be able to sell road base or ballast to RTD or supply DIA with high grade concrete stone. So it'll be there for a long time with the permitted reserves. The reclamation will just continue to come down, and you will see any new cuts will be reclaimed as we come down. The existing ones that are there, you know, those will take time because we're mining from the top down versus slicing our way in.
That makes sense. With the spur, you said it's an elongated period. What is your best guesstimate? About how, like 50 years? You said 50 years. Is it 50? Is it 100?
For how long it'll last?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll last 50 plus years depending on demand if they're successful.
Okay. Thank you.
One thing to kind of note too about that view shed impact, you know, so you saw on that map, that green line, so that's the canyon rim. You'll have impacts up top when we first get started, but eventually we're going to come down behind the canyon rim. And then nobody from I-70, you know, or Highway 6 will be able to see any of the operations.
But that's still, be clear, the years down the line. I mean, so essentially immediately upon you digging, it'll be a humongous impact on the view shed of what it looks like to drive in Quigley County. So that's just, I mean, one of the things I didn't see is a Google Doc of that. It would kind of like say, here's where the quarry is going to be at the top of the view shed. That I think it would, before I can vote on anything, it would have to be disclosed so that the public could see it, so that people could reach out to me and say, Kate, you can't vote for this.
Yep.
So
that's a very comprehensive document that we have prepared for the Quigley County application. And we call it a view shed analysis.
Yeah.
And it basically says, here's a shot from the top of Floyd Hill. This is what it's going to look like. This is where the disturbance be. Here's a shot from Clear Creek Canyon and the Peaks to Plains Trail, looking up the one gully where you can see it. You know, here's a shot right off of I-70, looking at the quarry, and shows all of those different things. We haven't provided that. And once we get our application submitted and this becomes public, we'd be more than willing to share it with the city of Idaho Springs.
that'd be great. Thanks.
All right, any more questions? All right, Al, thank you very much for the presentation. I think folks should know you have been very charitable with the community, and you're not so good at tooting your own horn. But just put it in perspective, 20 years ago, you were sponsoring Little League teams when you didn't even have kids. So anyway, just It's been very nice of the quarry, and I know the community has appreciated it for decades. And thank you for joining us tonight. And good luck, folks.
You guys can have these. This is the Walsh and Spur website.
Oh, thank you.
Nice little connection there, so you can stay up to date with
Maybe
kind of
we
what's
could
going
post
on
one
with that.
too, John. Is there a website? Yeah, we can post this perhaps.
Thank you.
Those are cool. Where did you have those made, Al? These are really, this is interesting.
Yeah, it's, there's not a tree in there.
Dude, you could just go into business selling this. You don't need a quarry anymore.
Well,
I'm not lying. This is
there's a-
amazing.
there's a big difference between renewable resources and
Yeah.
long-term resources, Again, you gotta find that balance.
Thanks a lot, guys. I
Thanks,
appreciate
guys.
it.
Thanks a lot.
And we thank you for all your help.
Yeah.
Thanks,
It's true, they do a lot of good work for us.
All right, we will move on to the next item, which is the 1% sales tax ballot measure for water and sewer.
They're not getting easier.
Mm,
The topics aren't getting easier, rats.
no, yeah, but maybe we can do more about reaching out to the public this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please, please. That two votes,
No,
that was a heartbreaker.
that really was a heartbreaker.
Well, and now people are starting, people are starting to see a difference in their water bills.
And I'm sure you noticed in your packet, the way the bills creep up. And since we only get 6 bills a year, right? We're billed bi monthly. You can see here that in about, 8 years, literally your bills, if you can imagine this, are going to have been $100 higher per bill.
The fact sheet with the graph is awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty clear. Even if
And
you're not good at math, I think you can probably understand it.
Kate, I really hope that the average citizen here out of the Springs can see that and appreciate why we really need to help visitors pay for the water that they use the heck out of.
I think it'd be great if we could have the fact sheet whenever you guys are satisfied with what it looks like in a very sturdy model that we can have at the library as well. So that when I'm there, I can, if I get a question, I can't answer questions about stuff like this when I'm there, but I can certainly direct you to the resource. So it would be amazing.
John, sorry, I see you're having your hand up.
You're muted, John. Still muted. No, he's still not there.
There
There
we
we
go.
go.
Now we hear you.
Couple of things people don't understand why we have to have new water and wastewater plants. If we just did it in the 80s, which I tell them because of regulations, you have to. The other one is some people get confused on the charts. I mean, I can see it's like $26, but maybe explain that a little more in layman's terms. That helps them. So.
My concern is, and we might have to do, I don't have something, the way it's put on the ballot. The first thing you do is, but the first thing they read is sales tax is gonna go up. I would say that 20% of the people make up their mind right there, because they're not a way, it's all a presentation. I know the legalities of putting it on the ballot, but this is not a way of wording the ballot more clearly written to somehow setting what the problem is and then the solution.
In order to reduce taxes, we propose a 1% sales.
Yeah.
Or
Not
not taxes,
taxes.
but in order to reduce water bills, wastewater and
Yeah.
water
Does it
bills.
have to be called tax? It does,
Yes.
absolutely.
Tabor says you have to identify the language.
So maybe we start.
Everybody hates the word tax.
We all hate it.
Literally, the word itself means taxing,
Well,
which
you
is
hear it
not
so
good.
often from so many areas, federal, state, local, and whatever, so I just think, I wish I could get to it, but the way it's written, and it may have to be written that way to be on the ballot, but it's not a good presentation, I'm just saying, is there not a better way of presenting it, so we get to the 1% after we say why we're getting to the 1%.
Yeah, like in order to keep water rates low, we.
Well, also due to the rising costs and increased usage of water and wastewater in this town, because it's not just us, we are more of a destination now. So with more of a destination, is more usage of our water and supply and our water treatment.
Right, and this is, makes it so that visitors can help pay their share, and Lord knows, they use a lot of water.
Well, maybe to Art's point, maybe, and I think Art's on the page before that, so maybe on the back of that page. So it says proposed infrastructure investment, maybe there it says we roll in that you want the visitors and tourists to pay for it. Maybe we get that to the top of the doc and then kind of let the tax, or is that what that's what you're kind of saying, right?
Yeah, like the passage will enable tourists and visitors to help pay for earmarked
I
projects.
wouldn't even use the word pay, I would use the word participate.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say help either. I would
Right.
say participate. Like, I think that's a good word. And it does make it sound like it's more,
To help participate.
because helping, with how much help are they giving us, right? Is that,
I like participate too.
yeah. But I think to Art's point, it does soften the blow when you know that, hey, we're really not asking you guys to pay for this. This is really for the sales tax for the tourists that are bothering you downtown. Now you can kind of go by and say, nah, you're paying for my toilet water.
And not only that, I think, and I don't know if we can do it in the body of what we're speaking of, but also often you hear people say, like when you see, well, maybe not here, but you see tolls go in place. And they'll say, well, the tolls on the road are only in place till we get the road paid for it. And then they're renewed and they're renewed, or they're used somewhere else. Is there some way of guaranteeing that this 1% is for that purpose and that purpose only, and no future councils can change that in uniform way?
Can we
So
make that kind of?
There really isn't a
absolute-
sunset to it though, we're always gonna be asking for this money, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe that the money doesn't get used for any other purpose but water, but I think that's already in it.
It is.
Yeah, it's the only thing you can't.
It's its own enterprise, so.
If you read the way it's written now, it's talking about going into the water and waste and the waste, so it's not really talking about the rates in the water bill.
It's meant to reduce the rates, not reduce the rates, it's meant to prevent the rates from jumping dramatically.
To
Right.
pay for.
They're still gonna go up,
Right.
they're just not
But
gonna
we
jump
have-
leaps and bounds.
They have to understand we're talking about their faucets when they turn the water on, not
Right.
so much about
Sewer.
The sewer.
Yeah.
Type thing. I just have to make, I'm not saying. it's
So
simple,
here's
but-
the deal, Art, like
No,
this
make
is
it
the perfect
clear.
kind of meeting that exactly what we're talking about. If people would just tune into this one topic where we can have a town, maybe it's time to have a town hall meeting about it
I agree.
and say, it's really hard to come up with the right words for all of you guys, that it makes sense, but we don't want you to pay for this in leaps and bounds. We want you to gradually understand that we're gonna have to implement water rates changes, but we want the visitors and the tourists that impact
No,
our town to help.
we want
to
everyone that
participate.
utilizes water and wastewater in our town to be a part
Of
of,
that,
participating.
well, they're participating, we are too, though, we're still paying more
Well, no, but
every year.
this way though, it spreads it to everyone,
Right.
It's not just us.
Right, I agree, no, that's what we're trying to
Yeah,
get.
I
Maybe
like
it's
the
town
idea
hall
of
time.
a town hall.
I hate to be the bummer.
I don't know about you guys, but some of the feedback I've gotten is, does the city need to be doing all this work in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, that's what John said, we don't have a
And
choice.
They're saying it's for future developments. This
Not-
isn't all about
no,
future
this is-
development.
no.
It's
This is
about
about our
running
current water
Yeah.
needs
Yeah.
and
So again, Scott, to me, that
and
would be
it's
great to
just
have
like
it in the-
misinformation that
Yeah.
they have in their mind that we had to do this.
Yeah, Scott, that's.
And the other
Right.
thing, and I don't wanna slam past administration, but it wasn't dealt for. It wasn't
50 years.
dealt with for
50
many years.
Oh, yeah.
50 years.
We got an infrastructure that's old and if we don't deal with it, it could be a greater cost to it.
And if we don't deal with it, we're looking at an empire-like situation.
Yeah,
Like, how long
something-
were they out with water? A
But
month?
something like this could be addressed at a town hall and get in front of people.
That's all in the presentation, but you're right, a lot of people think, oh, that's because you're bringing in all kinds of developers, there's some houses, all that. That's their image, because they see what's being built around us. A lot of people do that, and so they're saying, well, that's gotta come here.
And in somebody's mind, I'm not saying this is how it is, but somebody's mind might say, you know, you guys don't need to be doing this. I'm not gonna vote for a 1% sales tax. You guys deal with it. But it's affecting
Well, and again,
their costs.
that's a great conversation. If someone says that in the audience, you could say, well, we're all gonna deal with it equally. And it's gonna go from $29 from your next bill to instead of $79. So you decide what you would rather pay.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
That's exactly right, because they would be screaming bloody
Bloody
murder that the water bill is
Until next year.
$100 a bill higher.
Yeah.
You know, they'd be like, we're paying more than people in Aspen pay for water.
You probably are. I don't
Yeah,
wanna
but
be
if
the
you look- and
bummer.
If you look at
right,
the
but
areas
yeah.
of need, though, none of this is like new, it's repairs and filters and the Highway 103 water line, which I have said this and will continue to say, it scares the crap out of me.
It should.
Because it's
Yeah.
one solitary line, and we don't have a backup.
No, and it's under like over 200
Like,
PSI.
this makes me very nervous.
Yeah.
None of this is new development, it's making sure that we don't go a month without water.
I do have a question. So the sewer lines that go into the reconstruction of the roads, some of them are ancient, to my knowledge. Does that come out of the enterprise fund as well? Because that would be something good for people to know.
Yes.
Hey, you live on Virginia Canyon, I want you to know that your pipes are 75 years old.
Right.
How do you feel? Are you 75 years old? How you doing? Like, just saying, are you 10 years old? Do you feel 10 years old? Because you gotta pay for that. You've gotta pay for that because, and that's why I think a town hall is it's time to just get it out there.
Everybody put
Because-
your armor on and let's do it.
I think-
Yeah, I mean, it's
we
always
should
been
have
town
a-
halls, they're not bad.
We should have a presentation that we want to present and then, you know,
Sure.
be able to answer all these questions.
Sure.
And some of them are gonna be silly, and some of them will be very good, so I mean, we gotta be prepared for that, but I just think we have to put in language that the average layman understands. I know we got a lot of intelligent people out there, but I think we gotta make it simple language.
You're exactly right.
Well, sometimes those things on the ballot don't sound the way you think they
No, they
sound.
don't.
It's almost kind of
And you
misleading.
have to read them like 4 times.
45 times,
Yeah.
it's like, I still don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
Somebody tell me.
exactly.
And you know, you
That's what I
you know,
call Andy.
you probably already know this. This isn't all like gloom and doom and it couldn't happen here. I mean, practically in our backyard, St. Mary's, it's a similar situation, you know, when it's a smaller group trying to pay for it's federally mandated standards. It becomes very difficult. So, you know, like, and Aurora has a lot of addresses to spread it across where we don't. But St. Mary's, for example, if you can believe this, right now, as we're sitting here, it's $220 a month.
Mhm.
It's just.
And that's when it's running.
And, yeah,
Serious.
you know, so, you know, it just very close neighbors, you know, are in a situation like this.
Well, I also
So,
think though that the fact that we are struggling to come up with the best way to present this so that it makes sense, it's not, all convoluted, suggests that this is a fairly nuanced, like, there are nuances to this. I think a town hall is gonna be the best way to get this out versus social media or print or anything else.
The minute we say the federal government mandates it, the red flags are up and people don't really trust the federal government anyway. So I mean, that's not a
Do
good
you
sales
trust-
pitch.
I mean, I guess my response to that would be, do you trust what's in that water that comes out of your tap right now? Well, you're gonna trust it a lot less when we start breaking the law.
True, but we gotta present it without trying to challenge some people. We've gotta make them understand that we're together with them. I mean, we
Well, there are
got
rules,
water bills.
there are
too.
reasons for
I know,
water
I know, but
regulations. I will,
I don't want to be a hardcore delivery to them. I want to
We'll
make
leave
sure
that
they
to them.
understand that we have the same passion about, what's going on as they do. Because they think
we're all paying the
se-
same bill.
But they think we're a separate group.
Oh, no.
Well, they need to see my water bill then, you know, I'm just
Maybe we
saying.
should bring them.
What, that's a great idea, we'll wear them as our badges.
It's just a thought, I just didn't.
Yeah, it's a good point, they think that we get some sort of scooch by not paying, yeah.
So we're all for making it the easiest to understand as possible. And obviously promoting this as a way to keep everybody's water bill as low as possible.
We do a town hall too, sweet. Let's
Because, and I'll tell you, here's just from past experience. Unless it's something really controversial, we do not have great vote with great turnout. And I'm still for it, but I'm saying, you know, we'll keep the expectations,
low.
well, you know, moderate, but you know, there's other ways to reach out. And I think it's just really important that we communicate with a lot more people, because it just, I know it kills all of us. Last time it failed by 2.
I mean, but we missed an opportunity at Rapid Grass, we should have had a booth saying, hey guys, this is what's going on, we should be talking about it. That was a free opportunity that we totally blew.
And Kate, that's a good example. You know, a lot of folks are very comfortable mailing in their ballots, and I'm one of them. And sometimes those ballots are filled out and mailed in, you know, weeks before any kind of election. So we really need, I'd say, you know, to put forth a really strong effort to reach out to folks in the city in September, October.
Well, and also maybe in every like meeting moving forward, we will have a place where if you want to talk about the water, you can, so that we follow the rules of order. But there's a place for open discussion, so that we're continuously encouraging people to come and talk, because I
Carmen,
do,
can we do that?
okay, because I do think having a couple of months lead up before we get to the, you know, the election is really important. Because you're right, like I vote early.
I do too.
The minute I get my ballot, I spend a week, I do my thing, and it
I do too.
gets right back in the mail again.
That's why you got to check that from the state.
I do too.
No, actually, no.
It is, that's what they're going by. Yeah,
Your taxes.
unless you didn't file, I'm gonna turn you in to the IRS.
Hey, Carmen.
I did an extension smart attorney.
Well, then you're the one that's gotta wait till September 30th.
That's okay. I know.
Carmen, you got something for us?
I do, Mayor and Council. I'll just give you a little FCPA reminder. After the point at which the ballot title in question is set, which is this evening, you are all free to do whatever you want in terms of advocacy on your own time, right? On your own time, on your own dime. We do need to be careful as a city, and you do as officials, with spending public monies on advocacy, right? And I hear you talking a lot, and I'm nodding my head, and I'm saying it's absolutely fine as a city to engage in the dissemination of facts, factual information about where these proposed tax dollars will go and what they will be used for and what the impact could be and what you propose the impact to be on rates and bills. So if you ever have fact-specific questions about what you could or could not do in terms of advocacy, I'm happy to answer those.
Yes, thank you.
Mayor, I might mention there are 2 additional things that we can do as a council. One is pass a resolution in support of this ballot measure. And that is, I've talked to Carmen, that's planned, if council agrees, the second meeting in September. So that will list out the whereases and have some good information for the public. Perhaps Carmen's good with it, we could do a direct mailing of that information right before the election to provide some good fact-based information to the public.
That sounds great. I'd like to know how does council feel the same way?
Middle of October, when the ballots go out.
They go out in October.
I'd like to do like first week in October, so that we make sure we get in there before
Good
people
point,
put their
Lisa.
ballots back in.
We'll be there just before the ballots.
A one pager or something, or two
Yep.
page, something really.
Fresh in their mind.
Well, we said something about this, address that more to the. Just not- President.
John, how do we normally send out our mailings to the city? I know we don't do that very often, but when we do it, is it PO box based, isn't it?
Well, we could do it the other way. It gets a
Okay.
little more expensive, and we
Okay.
could look at what that would cost. But PO box is typically what we do,
Can we do it attached to the last water bill?
not easily with our current system.
Could we do a different kind of card for this particular one?
We,
Like a little-
let me look and talk to staff briefly about that, because there is another format we might be able to use, but it would, I'm not 100% sure how much work that would take to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna make it like.
Well, if we were able to, would you guys be open to contracting out this mailing potentially, if we could do
Sure.
that? Because if we could do that, I think we might be able to accomplish.
I'm just
Yeah.
looking for a mailer that's not gonna look like just another
Yeah,
piece
just
of.
go
And the one-
a new glass, a new windows or.
Not a letter, like you said, Kate, just a letter.
Important water bill,
Yeah,
sales
slide
tax
in there with-
information.
with-
You know, you made it.
Hey, now
you
we'll pay
made
later.
it pink.
You will. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Like if it's pink, that
Well-
usually suggests like, pink letters aren't good.
But they do stack up over there, no matter what it is sometimes.
The next bills go out September first.
We might be,
I don't know, it would
Oh,
require
we're pushing
some.
Yeah, that would.
Well,
be
there's
really
a
hard.
We'd have to move pretty quickly, but maybe we could send those out in a different way.
there's a company that Patty has looked into that can contract this out. I don't know what their turnaround is. The only thing, I don't know if you know, if we could do a bill like this.
It's usually pretty quick. I'm not sure that we could do it by September first, but I can look into this.
We could find out tomorrow for sure. It's just
That'd be
gonna
awesome.
ask if we can get it done.
Yeah, I
People
mean,
don't throw out their water bill.
you want that to be four.
The only
not
problem,
February.
it would look different than a normal water bill. 'cause it'd
That's
be-
what I'd be afraid of,
Yeah.
but maybe if the water bill's still on the face and on the back part of the card, which is blank, that has the information, I mean, it's gonna be small, but at least it'll be like, hey, go to this,
Can we
website
do a
or come to
webpage
the.
real quick?
We couldn't just print up a, like.
I think people will toss them,
Really?
yeah, I mean, I do everything in my recycle, but there are things I'm just like, yeah, I don't,
You know, I look at stuff that
I know.
doesn't.
City seal on there, real big.
Yeah, that's.
Well,
That might be
important
more
water-
feasible to do a
Well,
separate mailing.
yeah, important water bill information, I think would be alerting, like,
Yeah,
you know, I
but
mean,
that just seems like more feasible economic for. You know, especially for.
we're getting the
If
staff.
we had direction from council to look at a
Stuff
way to do
within
this,
the
I think we just need a little bit of time to figure out what could look like.
Go for it, guys, man. I think getting the
I'd
word
be
out.
happy with that.
What, is there a amount of money that you wanna not go over?
Yeah, because those mailers are crazy.
They could be,
Yeah,
they
that's
could
probably
be
like
expensive.
$1,000.
Expensive, you
Yeah.
can't do that.
How much?
I would imagine that we're talking around $1,000, but
Oh.
it just depends on, that's mailed out.
Well, yeah, I mean, frankly, even if it was double that, I mean,
It's
to
worth it.
save the citizens.
How much was the
What did we
recount?
pay
We
for the
did 2
recount?
recounts. How much was the recount?
Yeah. that's what I
Well, they're
thought.
15 grand.
Yeah, so there you go. It's a good.
Like that would,
minimum,
if we,
I think, right?
if we don't need a
Aren't they
recount
about-
for a 15 grand, like.
Well,
we
we
just-
already-
about that.
No, the recount wasn't that much.
Oh, well,
Recall was 15.
Oh, I'm
No, recall
sorry.
was-
That's
no,
right.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
A couple
Recount
thousand.
more modest.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So that's just,
I
like,
think
to me,
it
this
was
is,
a
like, this can save us the cost,
I
like
think the
a
county said
recount, we might actually pass it.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I mistook that.
I was like, dang, that was an expensive recount.
No, yeah,
Right,
it
it wasn't a couple $1,000s.
Okay, we'll look at what might be feasible. It may not be feasible to get them out with the bills September first, but I certainly think we can get something out during September.
Yeah, yeah.
Before, I really feel like before the ballots go out. it's
Right, maybe the end of
important.
September.
Yeah.
And, so, and council is for, the resolution, right?
Yeah.
But maybe some,
It'll help.
The ballot language needs to be approved tonight, in order to get.
And we can state that, but you can't say these are why we're supporting this or anything like that. In Carmen's words, we have to get a fact sheet, right? These are the facts
You can say it
Council.
personally, though. You
You
can
can
say
say
it
it
personally,
personally.
yeah,
to the public,
yeah,
but we can't
But
spend
not
city
in-
money
yeah, and do that, yeah.
and say this is why we support it and these are.
It's just like one of those bond measure cards that you get during election season,
Sure.
just giving you the laydown,
Yeah.
the lowdown. I mean, we can't scare them. That's what you're saying.
Carmen?
there, yeah, so. on that down.
Can you sometimes, when you're speaking to the residents and they come up with questions, and sometimes, can you just say, well, I'm gonna answer that question, but I'm answering it as a resident, not as a city council person? Or are you automatically a city council person? Speak out of hand.
Can you, I'm sorry, the question is, can you answer questions from a resident speaking as a,
Can you say that, can we say that right now I'm talking to you as a fellow resident? Without, or do you always have to speak with the restrictions of?
oops, sorry, say that again, Art?
So Carmen, I think what,
repeat myself.
yeah, I think what he's asking is, you know, if he's at the grocery store and gets questioned about this, how do you keep your official capacity and the city's official position separate from, you know, being asked by a constituent out of the, how do you walk that line and not get into trouble? We know that after the ballot language is adopted tonight, you know, council can't be as an organization advocating for it and you know, promoting it.
Right.
But you're going to be asked on the street as an individual council member. I think that's the gist of the question.
Got you. Thank you, Andy. I can answer that, I think, pretty simply. The issue is not what your title is or what hat you're wearing when you answer the question or even talk to people. The issue is money. So you don't have to say, hey, I'm talking to you as a private citizen. You can absolutely, all mayor and council members, you can absolutely say to someone at the grocery, hey, I am a city council member and I want you to know that we put this on the ballot and here's why. And here's why I encourage you to vote yes. Because when you're talking like that, you're not spending public money.
Yes.
That makes sense.
That helps, thank you.
Okay, and Andy, important point, council needs to approve the resolution tonight
Yes.
so that we can get it out there and be part of the election.
The language tonight.
Well,
As far
why
as
don't we look at it during the work session right now? We've got a little bit of time. It's pretty important.
Yeah.
I
think we started with,
Pages and all.
it's like the third page. It's the third. It's the.
Carmen, what council's asking now is, I know the ballot language has to be a certain way legally and with there's certain requirements for that. And there was discussion, I don't know if you caught all of it, but little discussion about can the wording be changed somewhat to make it a little more appealing and not just make it seem like another tax that someone might say no more taxes. Are we pretty much set with this language? I think that's kind of what council's asking.
Mayor and council, unfortunately, we're asked this every time a Tabor question goes to the voters, and this is why it appears like this on every ballot you see. Tabor dictates this precise language. The start of the ballot question, shall City of Idaho Springs taxes be increased dollar amount in the first fiscal year and by whatever additional amounts are raised after? All of that is set by Tabor, the Colorado Constitution. I wish, and I've wished in many prior ballot questions, that it could start softer. It could start with the punchline. It could start with the main message. Unfortunately, Tabor does dictate the language, pretty much all of it, if not most of it, that you see in your packet. And I'm glad that you have engaged in the discussion you have tonight about what the underlying motivation is and what the taxes will be used for, because that's exactly the sort of language and facts, and yes, some advocacy on your own time, on your own dime. That's exactly the sort of thing that has to happen outside of the ballot question with public outreach and public information. There's not a whole lot, unfortunately, that we can do with the ballot question itself.
Yeah, Lisa.
Will this ballot also get one of the blue books, you know, like what says people who are for, people who are against, because that can also be, some of the whys can be shared in the what people are for.
It's called a pro con,
Pro
so you
con,
could
yeah.
have, yes, there's that opportunity as well.
Carmen's saying that this essentially the resolution.
What it is.
It is what it is.
The ballot language, yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, Tabor, like, it appears to me, it won't let one side favor a
Sway,
pro or
yeah.
right, it's gotta be even Steven, you know.
So we
Yeah.
couldn't put the fact that we want to share this burden with
No.
Well, it says-
people outside the community.
It's, you know, whereas to reduce or eliminate the need to raise utility customer needs.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose people right there. The whereas is always lose me.
Yeah.
I just
That's
ignore
true.
whereas.
True though, that's what people hate. Why do you have to say
Well,
that? Carmen, why do we have to say that?
all right.
Tabor.
Anything more on the, anything more on the 1% water?
Well, no, but just, I mean, it just says the increases to solely fund the water and wastewater. Not really talking about traditional.
So I guess I think what Carmen, and I think what the big push is that we have to get the word out before they see this.
I agree.
And
but
tell them what resolution number it is and
We
what,
can say what we want to say when they see this, and then say.
I know.
You know, though, I don't know that it's gonna be as horrible as we think. This only lost by 2 votes, so it's not like majority, like a huge majority of the population said, no way.
Yeah.
Like, only a small majority of the population said, no way.
Well, and frankly, they've already seen the rates ticking up.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Have you been
that's where they're headed.
Have you
no
gotten
doubt.
complaints about the rates ticking up?
No,
No.
I've heard, like,
I've heard it.
my bill has gone up. what the
yeah, I just
hell?
haven't said anything, Wonder.
I've heard a little bit, but not.
Not huge,
So-
but I have heard, like, people are
Okay.
noticing.
What Arthur just mentioned, that one section, I do wonder, Carmen, I want your input on this. Would it be possible to add a few words there right after, what was that section you just read about?
Whereas the city council.
Paying for infrastructure or something like that?
It says that,
Third.
increases will be used solely for the purpose of funding the water and the waterways capital improvement project.
Okay,
It's the fifth whereas.
would it be,
Besides taxpayer-
that's in the ballot language, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So Carmen, would it be possible to add any language in there about moderating rate increases? I think that's what is concerning council in the ballot language, is that there is some reference to the increasing costs that users pay. Is there any, I know this is on the fly and we don't want to mess with the language too much, but is it possible to add a phrase that effect, or is it not something that would really work here with the ballot language?
No, yeah, we could add language to that effect, to the ballot question. You know, this is exactly the question that was referred last time. And of course, the practicalities of the water wastewater fund and how that enterprise is operated is if, right, the monies that have to go to capital improvements go down, we as a city can allocate more money and charge less for rates. And so I'm okay. Hey, it's ballot transparency, right? And Tabor favors that. So I would not be adverse to adding language, and I think it would be perfectly okay to add language that would say, for the purposes of funding water and wastewater capital improvement projects and or reducing water and wastewater rates.
Reducing increases. I don't know if we can say.
Yeah,
You know, it's
no,
reducing-
don't go there. We've done that before.
Reducing increases.
Yeah, reducing
Rate
increases.
increases or reducing the impact of rate increases
Oh,
or
there we
something
go,
like that.
reducing the impact of rate increases.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, so procedurally tonight,
Yes.
when the motion is made for this resolution, we can say, as amended with the language discussed in the work session,
As approved by
as
council.
approved by council.
Does that work for you, Carmen? Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
That would be great. We can still get it approved tonight and then Carmen will tweak it.
right.
I like Councilor Manifold's the collective input of potentially reducing the potential impacts of water and wastewater rates, right? You're not.
Yeah, with that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, anything more on the water rate? I would like to move to the projects update.
So Mayor, we have 9 minutes left till our regular
Yeah.
meeting. What I would suggest is we skip the project update and we'll do that next meeting.
Okay,
It's there for your perusal.
because that will take a little bit of time, and I would like to get some feedback from council on
Yeah,
that.
there's a lot of projects.
There's a lot going on. So, what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, is just briefly go over the budget schedule,
Yes.
which is next to your packet, and I'm trying to get to it right now. Okay. So we've already had the 2021 audit presentation that occurred on August 8th. But the departments are working on their budget request for 2023. And on the week of August 29th, we will meet with the mayor and I and John. We'll meet with the department heads to go over the budget requests, take a first crack at that, have some discussion. And then we will be working to get the information to council at upcoming work sessions. You see a number of dates. We'll try to, that we may not need all those budget meetings, but we like to at least give you an idea that it's sometimes, we have to do the budget and then we have to do all the other things that we do. So we do have that outline there. The draft budget is due to council by October 15th by statute. So you will have at least a good draft of the proposed budget for 2023 by mid-October. And then the city clerk will put the notice of budget in the clerk recurrent, so that it's everybody on notice that it's available for viewing. And then we do have a draft budget. And then as we wrap it up with a budget hearing December 12th for a budget hearing resolutions to adopt the final budget and also to certify the mill levy. And that's pretty much it. It's very similar, very much like last year.
Okay, so everybody all right with that? All right, we'll move to payment portal update.
John, you got 5 minutes.
Mayor and council, we talked about this several months ago, or I guess in May.
Yeah.
And we have been looking for alternatives for how people pay their bills on the city of Idaho Springs. We identified 2 really good options that both work with Casell. However, one of the vendors had horrible customer service and wouldn't give us a quote. So we're left with 1 quote. And in a lot of ways, it's the better option. It's the one that better integrates with what Lorraine does. It gives us the ability to live update our ledger and all those things. And the customer service experience on the website will be dramatically improved. I included in this some of the recurring monthly fees that there are associated with the software, as well as the monthly costs that are associated with the software or the annual cost. It's a little hard to 100% say what the fiscal impact of this software will be just because of the fee structure for it. But I think that it's going to work out pretty well. I think we're going to be able to more conceptually set our credit card fees, and people will be able to have a lot more information about their water billing right on that portal. So one of the other kind of like fringe benefits of this software is it can act as a point of sale computer. So one of our challenges is sometimes training people how to use Casell, which is our finance software that we use. But because this live updates Casell, we can use it just like any cash register essentially, which I think is going to dramatically improve our ability to train new staff if and when that ever is something we need to do. I think that for the most part, staff agrees this is good software. We're only committed to a year, so if there's another option that comes in the future, it's as simple as just changing it on our website. So I went ahead and recommended that we move ahead with this software.
Everybody okay with that? Sure. All right.
This is an action item under John's report in the later.
Okay, all right. And then Jonathan, the portable stage.
Just the stage that we use on the 4th of July is a really nice stage. We kind of ran into an issue with Blackhawk, who we've been renting or getting our stage from for free, where they're no longer able to do that. Stage rentals are very expensive, $2,000 to $5,000 a day, usually to get approximately what we've been using for the 4th of July. I have had conversations with the rec district, with Central City, with a lot of different organizations around us that might use a stage. If we had one, we might rent it potentially. We could probably rent it to community organizations very cheap or let them use it. We also talked about potentially maybe when the ball field project gets moving, maybe we could have a pad down there to store it on. It's about the size of just a regular trailer. It's, I think, a 30-foot trailer. Currently, it's a hard-sided trailer, so we can store it outside. The guy offered it to us for $28,000 with the understanding that we'd make an agreement with him to like kind of rent it back. He also took, if we buy it, he'll take the price off of the 4th of July, which is $1,500. It's about a $40,000 stage. It just had rehab, it got the paint on the roof and all the waterproofing redone. So it's gonna last us quite a while if we get it. I wanted to put this in as an option to buy it because of the cost of rental, and I think over time we'll make it up pretty quick. He also said he'd be open to financing options, so if we wanted to put it in the 2023 budget and by then if he had a commitment, he might be willing to do that. I have not got down to brass tacks with him yet because I think we still have a little negotiating to do, but I wanted to have direction from council if that was all right. So what I was thinking is if you guys are interested in buying it, I can go back to him and negotiate a final price, which I'm hoping is going to be closer to 25,000 with a deal for him to rent it. And then maybe we can get this done in the 2023 budget. But I also think if it isn't the 2023 budget, we may be able to look at some of our funds and community promotion and just see what might be possible.
I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. It was pretty nice.
Yeah, it's a professional stage. You can have movies in there. You can also do the sound system hooks right in. It's a pretty cool thing.
So we had one donated to Rec Center back a few years ago, and within 3 months it was stolen.
Yeah,
I don't know, were you at the city then?
it was right before I.
Yeah, it was an expensive stage, not quite as expensive as one you're doing. So I don't think they even got to use it. My concern would be that we could store it someplace in this trailer securely. And being on a pad would help keep that trailer, tight
Yeah.
and not get infested. So right now, maybe the 2023 picking it up then would be the best for us until we can find a place that we can house it safely.
Yeah, and I think he's open to that. I think what he wants is a commitment that somebody's gonna buy it.
Yeah,
And so I think if we're able to do that, he's
Sure.
probably,
What's he asking?
right now he wants 28, but I know that if I can negotiate, I can get him down.
John Curtis, I saw your hand was up. Is that still, did you have a question?
Same concern Kate had.
Okay, all right. I'm for it. This is one of the few things where it can pay for itself in about 2 dozen or less rentals. It would solve the ongoing problem too of us needing to get it every year.
Do we have stuff to tow the stage already?
Oh, yeah,
Equipment to tow?
city, I'm the city.
Oh, no, I don't know. That's why
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
asking.
It's
just-
pretty light. I think you could tow with F-150 really, but.
Well,
it's better to-
But it comes in its own trailer. Oh, that's
So
nice.
when we rent it right now, that includes the setup of the stage?
Yeah, and he would continue to be our sound guy, so we could probably still work with him because he knows how to use it.
Because if we own it, we're gonna be responsible each time to set it up, there's gonna be costs.
Oh, that's a cool thing about this. This is a one-man hydraulic stage. It's all hydraulic on the inside. It's got a lift too, so the band stuff can go up real easy. But the old stage was a pain in the butt to do. John Bordoni's guys, like it just was a pain in the butt, but this is literally like push button kind of deal.
Scott, I'm glad you asked that because that was important. One person setup.
That's cool.
It's amazing.
All right, any more questions? I guess we will take a break and we'll start a slightly delayed, probably about 7:06 or 7:07, something like that.
Camping.
Oh, you're talking about a hot flash.
You like it?
Art, I'm pulling your chair back, just wanted to be aware of that.
You don't sit down.
You're wasting his out.
He was trying, I saw him going for it.
That's 12 minutes.
I'm the good, how are you doing, sir?
Thank you.
It is hot.
You can't just go about saying good things. I think that's the phrase is. Associated with it.
He's not sure. Sitting here, and he's sitting right here.
I think that was Al Fry's
Yeah, it was,
mother.
I think it was Al's, yeah.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Hello, Lori.
Welcome.
Oh, that's good.
Is anybody's packet?
Put it right here.
Oh, is that yours? Is that yours?
Oh, yeah, actually.
It's for still pay. Well, they said the vote.
The meeting.
Hi, John.
How are you?
Hi. John, did you get my email about accessible pay?
That this is when we wanted,
Yes.
yeah, but from a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
I saw it. I just didn't know, since it wasn't mentioned in the accounts report, the concerns they had about invoice cloud.
They didn't respond to us with the quote, so
I just want to make sure the council doesn't say, well, try again to get a quote, it might be. We don't want to go with
we
that.
we've waited since May for a quote, and I just decided I was done.
Yeah. Well, they're terrible. I mean, it would really cost you a lot.
I think it's a good thing for something. Oh, I thought it was supposed to be great. I'm
Well,
excited
Eric
about
said I
it.
did a good job. It's gonna, yeah.
Doesn't do everything.
I know.
Yes.
I know, what's sort of ironic is that incident, even the guy said he was less worried about that incident. So it just sort of triggers other things, but I think overall I did my homework last week. I just studied. I've been in there. I think we have a good.
I was thinking, even if it's not.
We found resources.
For the resources that are gonna be out
So
there.
we're gonna do a training. So.
You don't ever respond to me, ever.
I have to
Really?
look out.
Yeah. Like, you're not helping me.
So,
Automatically.
I got. So, I just want to look at it.
A lot of the time. They're sharing.
Okay,
Over. So.
I have been out
It
so
might
all
kind of.
day and I, well, I was on
I did see.
sorry. I didn't do funny, I apologize.
But it's your policy.
Yeah.
It's mine.
When Rich checked on our car, it's still not off the assembly line. So it's.
Well, that was like the site factor, because I wasn't getting
Said another.
too much fun when that's like, yeah, I know that. We have issues here, so it's just.
You get through stuff.
Yeah, I remember, I think I was just getting on council when it got stolen.
Yeah, bummer.
They just hooked to the trailer and took the whole trailer and everything.
I think that was a little bit of negligence on the rest of the not locking the trailer, just assuming. that it was okay. I think they had it over at the ball field too, which is, you know, not a lot of people were going over there at the time, so I kind of understand, but you know, free is free, man. It was brand new. It was even the school that I worked for. They're like, we don't use this trailer, we can't store it. And I was like, yeah, too bad. People just, some people just.
Yeah, they did.
Well, that's good here.
And I don't think they actually wanted this to be staged, they wanted the trailer, so that's even worse, you know, it's laying in. I know, I am, too, because the trailer was pretty nice. Where is the, wasn't there a letter of interest in HPRC in someplace?
Scott, how are you, buddy?
It is. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's only like $50.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Oh, sorry. It's all good, Jack.
Oh, boy. Don't do that.
Got it for 5:30.
Oh, I think so.
I was up at
6:30 to make sure all the people
Oh, that's pretty.
got to know they were, well, no, that's okay. The new bus schedule, the kids have to be there, just gotta be there.
Oh, it's early.
20 minutes earlier.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, it used to, it was 7:45 last year, it's 7:25 now, so kids gotta leave the house at 7:15.
Aren't they doing like 25 extra minutes of school? Yeah.
Oh,
Almost
yeah.
an hour.
Yeah, it's 8:04.
Yeah, yeah, so,
I mean, I think the bell rings like 7:56 is what my kid was telling us.
yeah.
But-
They will get a 4 days.
Well, yeah, the Friday's off, so.
I like.
Are you
those,
like
they're-
it? Do you like it? I don't think it's good for.
Well-
But that's, I mean, I don't have a kid, but I.
Yeah, but you know what, there are so many rural districts, like most of the districts in our state are rural, and more than half of our districts only go 4 days.
So, but to that note, if you go and look at the testing statewide, rural districts do not do well.
I think it's really hard on the parents, man.
It's very hard on the parents.
That's
Very,
all
very.
you work fortunate, thank God, you know, my wife's at home.
Right,
You
no,
know, she runs the home office.
Yeah. I agree. I'm not a big testing person, by the way, because I don't think that
I
everybody
think
does.
standardized tests are good.
But there is a certain level that, I don't know.
Well, we'll see, we have a pretty good graduation rate here. so-
Well, I would like to welcome everybody to the Monday, August 22nd, 2022 regular session of Idaho Springs City Council. And we'll call an order at 7:08. And like a roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Here.
Art Cacavelli.
Here.
Scott Pennell.
Here.
Lisa Manifold.
Here.
Kit Collier.
Here,
John Curtis.
Here,
Jim Clark.
Here. Why, thank you. All rise, please, then recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty, justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. So we have an agenda before us tonight. And I do have one addition after public comment. We do have an applicant for HPRC. And I think her resume was in our packet. And I would like to add that right after public comment for a vote for this individual to join HPRC. And with that addition, do I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
I move to approve the amended agenda.
Thank you. And do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Any further discussion? Well, thank you. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Does anyone tonight feel they have a conflict of interest? Hearing none, I will move to approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes from August 8th, 2022.
Thank you, Scott. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Art. First and a second, any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And moving on to approval of the bills, do I have a motion on the bills?
I move to approve the bills to August 23rd, 2022.
Thank you, Art. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
And a second. Any discussion on the bills?
I have a question. It's in general to the dispatch services as far as the Clear Creek County paying $44,000 some odd dollars. Is there an avenue or a mechanism? Are we aware of any corporation that does this for people, for police departments, or is it always a governmental thing?
Art, I want to thank you for that question. It's something that's been near and dear to our hearts for a while. And thankfully, Chief's been looking into that.
Very good.
So we
Listen to your phone calls, Steve.
we are looking at all options because it is extremely expensive for our small city.
Is it true, chief? Is that right? Thanks.
No, go ahead.
Do you guys get billed every time that you keep Mike on that? Is that how they find an average, or is it calls for service given?
The way I read and interpret the bill is that the majority of times that's the case, that it's not just a call for service. If an officer performs a traffic stop, for example, we would be charged for that.
Gotcha.
All right. Any further questions? Andy?
Mayor, we will be having a work session dedicated to this topic on September 19th.
Excellent.
So
Cool.
that is an off week, but we will have a work
Yes.
session.
I
and we'll-
think all of us will be looking forward to,
Yes.
particularly this subject.
Yeah.
Any further questions on the bills? All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes,
Yes.
All right, well, thank you very much. Do we have any public comment this evening?
No, Mayor, nobody has signed up.
Okay, all right. Then next on the list, as I had indicated, we had a slight amendment there in the agenda. We have an applicant for HPRC. Please come forward. I'm sorry, Jerry.
If I may just do a very quick introduction. This is Shannon Glazer, who I provided her information to join the HPRC. She has a MA in anthropology and is currently working in the GIS profession. With that, would you like to add?
Yes, welcome, and you have a very impressive resume, I must say.
Well, I'm fairly new to town. My husband and I just moved a couple months ago. Just have always been interested in history, used to be an archaeologist, and historic preservation is something I'm very excited to get involved with, and learning more local history, so.
Yes, very good. This would be a good time for folks, if they have questions, perhaps council will ask. Does council have any questions for the applicant?
Well, I did read your resume and your letter, and I was very impressed, so thank you so much. If your HRC needs exactly your kind of people that are passionate. Have you ever worked with small town historical boards before?
I have not. I have a very small amount of classwork in section 106, so I'm a little bit familiar with that. But for small town historic preservation stuff, no.
Well, there's a bunch of people that are great resources for you to reach out to. I think that they would be very happy to like give you any information that you would need.
Okay.
Lisa?
This is actually more for John. John, does this meet the requirements that we have as far as the state preservations, like the state requirements for our educational? Or would that be a Jared question? I'm sorry.
So if I may, we believe so. We're going to double check, but we believe that does. But we're also, we've also had some other people indicate that they might be interested in changing their position on HPRC. And so we might be, we've already actually posted in the newspaper for all planning commission, HPRC and variance board. So if for some reason it doesn't, because I think it will, but if it doesn't, then we do have another opportunity potentially for finding some more talent.
Okay. And Shannon, please don't think this means I'm questioning anything. It's just I know that we have to meet certain requirements.
Right.
But we also have the ability for 5 members and 2 alternates, so.
What is HPRC at right now?
Currently we're at 4.
4.
Yeah.
So more the merrier.
Yeah. So,
Well, and not that it's overwhelming, but there's some great training opportunities as well. So we're certified, and we of course intend to stay certified. But I can tell you that we have some of the very best education opportunities on this as well.
So is that something that's available to all new like planning commission, HPRC and variance? Is that something that they can go do we send them to classes before? Because HPRC is very specific as is planning.
So typically, we primarily have focused on training for HPRC outside of a standard training with, Attorney Bury and myself for other items. We do have the state lined up, a representative from the state lined up for, I believe it's the October meeting.
Yes.
To come provide some training. But then we also normally work on going to the Saving Places Conference, which is in February for, I believe it's 3 days.
It's amazing.
And we normally get, we get grant funding for that as well. So we've had great success with that. My first year was last year attending it, and it was a really well done conference.
Excellent.
And last year, they also did have some of it remote, if people weren't able to attend those 3 days and still wanted to interact with it.
Great, thanks, Jim.
Art?
I did look at your resume. It's beautiful and your comments about preserving historic sites in small cities. I wish you were applying for the planning commission as well. We need people with that kind of attitude on that as well. So you might keep that in mind too.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions or? Right.
Well, I also have a master's in anthropology. Something like that is needed. Additionally, I do have that.
Careful what you wish for.
Exactly. Right. I remember Chief saying something like that.
Where'd you move from, may I ask?
Been in Colorado for about 9 years now. We moved up from Lakewood. And then before that lived in Aurora, and then upstate New York before that.
Okay, all right.
Well, welcome.
Welcome, yeah.
Yes, welcome.
Any further questions for Shannon? All right.
You're a brave soul.
That'd be great. What are you talking about?
Lisa's fabulous. You'll have a great time.
I would like to make a motion that Shannon Glazer become our next member of HPRC.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and indicate, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
All right.
Yay.
Well, there's five.
Now we
Yes.
have
There's five. Yep, good to have you. Thank you.
welcome and thank you.
All right, we'll move on to resolutions, starting with resolution number 17. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve resolution number 17, series 2022, a resolution approving the second amendment to the intergovernmental agreement establishing the Colorado Rangers Law Enforcement Shared Reserve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
My second.
Art, a second. And any further discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving to resolution number 18. Do I have a motion?
I move, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'll move to approve resolution number 18, series 2022, a resolution approving revised job descriptions for public works and wastewater.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Was this just for restructuring purposes? Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
We talked about this like
We did.
Yeah, I think
maybe a month and a half ago.
John Bardoni had mentioned this to us earlier.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know.
Mhm.
That we had qualified people
Right.
internally that we can
Right.
restructure.
Exactly. Any further discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I am going to move to approve resolution number 19, series 2022, a resolution referring to registered electors of the city at the November 8th, 2022 special municipal election, a ballot question concerning a 1% sales tax increase to be dedicated to water and wastewater purposes as amended by unanimous council approval with the work session today. The slight modification in wording.
I'll
And-
second, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, please. I was
Yeah,
just gonna ask for a second.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you, Kate. First and a second. Any further discussion?
Carmen, is it appropriate for anybody now to say what their feelings are on this?
Yes, in the discussion of the resolution that sets the ballot question, that's fine.
Is it okay if I say that I'm like, don't I step on my toes? That I'm for this because we are actually, as a council, asking that visitors and tourists help participate in the increase in water volume, that we want to make sure that our residents keep their water bills lower. Is that okay? It's too late now. Is that all right?
Yes, this resolution is not passed. This resolution would set the ballot title. After this resolution passes, the FCPA would, as we know, council has certain restrictions on what you can say and use this forum for. But that would be perfectly fine, Councilor Collier, or anybody else who wants to say something briefly before you take a vote on it.
All right, thank you, Kate. Any further discussion?
When will we see the revised amendments, like with the addition to that whereas section?
I can, the revision is to the ballot question itself. Isn't that right, Mayor Council?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy to send that out to you tomorrow. I can get that done. And just so the public knows, those of you who may be watching but weren't watching at the study session, Mayor and Council unanimous consensus was to direct me to amend the ballot question language to specifically refer to using the sales tax revenues not only for capital improvement projects, but to reduce the potential impacts of potential rate increases to customers. So I can send that to you, Mayor and Council, tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Tim Clark.
Yes.
All right, thank you. We will move on to ordinance first reading, starting with ordinance and only ordinance number 6. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve ordinance number 6, series 2022, an ordinance amending section 21-33 of the Idaho Springs Municipal Code to amend short-term rental lease license term and renewal dates to be consistent with other city licensing periods.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Art. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Tim Clark.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving to city attorney, Carmen, anything new for us tonight?
No, nothing other than what's on the agenda. I appreciated your discussion in study session, Mayor and Council.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thanks, Carmen.
Moving to finance officer with July financial statements. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Harmon, and hello, everyone. I'm here to go through the July financial statements. There's nothing really earth-shaking about these. You can kind of continuing on course, but I walk you through it and pay special attention to the highlighted line items. But starting with the first page, you have 10 million in cash at the end of July. And the bottom of page 1 shows which funds have how much of that $10 million in their ownership. The general fund has $1,886,000. So on page 2, that's the first item in the general fund's balance sheet. And the general fund has about 2.2 million in assets, and the fund balance starting the year of $2 million. Moving on to page 3, we get into the revenues and expenditures. And your top 10 revenues are highlighted here. All of them are coming in as expected. Property taxes, we've already gotten 100% of the property taxes levied last year to be collected this year, because as you know, they're collected mostly in February through June. So you've gotten those. The rest of the revenues are pretty much on pace for the ones that you can easily forecast. building use tax is dependent upon construction. A lot more of that happens in the summer and fall than in this winter and spring. So that's a little lower than 50% for the year. Through July, 58% of the year has elapsed. So looking over to the bottom line on page 4, you're right at 56.1% of general fund revenues that were budgeted have been received through July. Then starting with page 5, there's the individual departments. And unless you see some particular line item of interest, I generally look at the total by department. So on page 6, you kind of look at the percentage of budget spent for each one, starting there with streets at 52%, and then moving through the other departments on pages 8, 9, and 10. And they all are nothing out of the ordinary. Either most of them are at or near their budget amounts, a little lower than the budgets. Some of the departments, perhaps parks and streets, would have more activity in the summer in the big dollar items for construction type activities. So we may see those percentages moving up after the August statements and the fall months go along. But on page 12, the total general fund expenditures are at 51.4% of what was budgeted for the year. The next 3 pages are about the Hanson Cemetery Trust Fund. There's been no activity there, just the interest coming in on the small fund balance there. I'm sorry, next 2 pages. Page 15 is the ramp fund. Again, no real activity there in the revenues, but page 15 shows it started the year with a $722,000 fund balance. So far for the year, there's just the interest earned on the amount of money that's left in that fund from what came from the state originally for Colorado Boulevard. And there's been some activity in asphalt curb and gutter so far this year, but only 12% of the budgeted amounts have been spent through July. Page 18, we get to the improvement fund. Always highlight those advances that are due from the water and wastewater funds back to this fund. Those are receivables that are assets, but they're not cash yet. They're missing cash and waiting to be returned. Fund balance though for the year that includes those 2.7 in receivables was 5.19 million. So moving forward into the page 19 shows the revenues. They're coming in as expected, except for building use tax. And parking revenue now no longer goes in this fund. It's going into the parking enterprise fund that was created. The expenditures for the improvement fund for the year on page 20 show a budget of over 4 million, and about 779,000 has been expended through July. Page 21 has the Conservation Trust Fund, the lottery monies. Started the year with 81,000. You're letting that build up to be used for a certain project or yet to be determined. So far there's just been additional funds coming in from the Conservation Trust Fund to the state and the interest earned on it, but no activity yet this year in expenditures. Page 24, the fund balance of this 1% street tax fund started at $1.7 million at the beginning of 2022. You've added sales tax of almost $500,000 so far on the top of page 25. So you're building up those monies with the sales taxes, but there've been some payments on debt that have occurred, and more is budgeted on page 26 for the year. Now we get to the water fund, and we see 3 of those advances that are due back to the general fund and or the sales tax special revenue fund. These are the minor amounts that we'll be looking at in the budget process to perhaps pay back sooner rather than later, if possible. The fund started the year with that 5.7 million in equity that we talked about the other night when we looked at the audit. And then charges for services so far this year on page 28 are coming in at 51.2% of what was budgeted has come in so far. The expenditures are lower than budgeted so far, except for the debt service, which is paid as scheduled, not necessarily half in the first part of the year and half in the second. So those are on track as well. Wastewater fund, page 32, has all of those highlights, including the 2.4, actually 2.7 million plus that's owed back to the to the sales tax special revenue. And it's a fair amount of their net equity is reflected in that liability. It's reduced by that liability. The wastewater fund charges for services on page 34 are at 43.8% in the wastewater fund, and 58% of the year has elapsed. So some of those increases that you passed will continue to hopefully buoy some of these revenues for this fund, but we want to keep really watching this fund and whether the revenues are appropriate. The expenditures are all at or near the amount of the, below or near the amount of the year that's elapsed, with the same exception for the debt service, which is fine. Parking enterprise fund, this is your new one on page 38. Started the year with no fund balance, so nothing is showing there on page 38. Created during 2022, but so far this year, 143,425 has been added to this fund to give it some funds for the parking fees going in on page 39 and interest earned on that cash. And then the pension fund chugs along with the payment to pensioners as needed, as owed, shown on page 42. Today's pension fund. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Any questions for Lorraine?
I don't know who this would be a good question for. Was the difference, because I was looking at the wastewater fund with the charges for services and it's 43% and 56% of the year has passed. Was that anticipated last year as a difference in the budget? Like, did we anticipate that was going to happen? Or is that just what has happened? I don't know. I wasn't on council, so I didn't know if we anticipated a shortfall or.
Sometimes the fact that you bill every 2 months.
Yeah.
Well, and will reflect, reflected in an odd month that you didn't. bill
Gotcha.
in, but
The increase doesn't happen until April, and that doesn't come in until the July bill. So that
Gotcha.
could be a lag also, because it's half a year, you know, by the time that bill's already half a year passed. So that
Okay,
could
that
be
makes
also.
sense. Thank you.
Any further questions for Lorraine? All right, well, thank you so much for coming up and giving your presentation. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
All right, we'll move to city administrator and Andy, I see you have one action item.
Yes, that's it. You said it. I've got my report with one action item.
Okay,
Thank you.
and do I have a motion on this action item?
I'll move to approve a proposal from THK Associates, Inc. in the amount of $41,500 for the creation of a sports and recreation complex master plan from line item 21-00-6021 park improvements.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Who will be involved in the process and the design, because it'll be you directly and
Yes.
council will have some involvement?
Absolutely, yes. We're gonna, we have in this proposal, there will be a dedicated work session with council. And we're also gonna have some outreach as well. So, and we're gonna be working closely with the recreation district on this project.
Awesome.
And we've also invited Clear Creek County, since they're working on the recreation plan for the whole county as well.
Well, this is going to be excellent. Any further discussion? A roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Why, thank you. So we will move to Assistant City Administrator. Jonathan.
Mayor and Council, you have my staff report with one request for action.
All right, so we have a $750,000 grant application that we would like to get a move on. And do I have a motion?
I motion to approve a $750,000 grant application to the Department of Local Affairs Energy Mineral Impact Assistance Fund for the construction of new water and wastewater utilities on Virginia Street and Virginia Canyon Road.
Thank you, Lisa. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
And second, any discussion?
Bring it on.
Yeah, really, I know, exactly, right. So roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you. So I'm looking down, Deputy City Clerk, you don't have anything for us tonight. Community Development Planner, you don't have anything additional, you didn't have anything additional for us, okay? And Police Department, Chief, anything new?
Mayor and Council, with the staff report. Unfortunately, we didn't get anybody to contact us for testing for new hires. We had scheduled that for this coming Wednesday and didn't have anything. So we'll continue to recruit and advertise and probably set something up here in another month and a half. So that's just where we are with staffing. So we're still down one position.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Chief. Anybody have questions for Chief? All right, well, thanks. We will move to the Public Works Department.
Mayor and Council, you have my staff report with one request for action. The follow-up to the approval of Resolution 18.
Yes, and do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve pay rate increases for the newly approved ORC positions in all public works and wastewater employees effective August 15th, 2022.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. We don't have anything for committee reports, City Clerk. I do have an item, sadly, under Mayor and Council. And please, Lisa, take it away.
Okay, I am sad to have to tell you that I will be tendering my resignation for council as of September 30th. I have bought another house in town, so I will be moving from Ward 2 to Ward 1, and I can no longer represent Ward 2, which is the worst thing of this move. It is terrible.
And
I'm so sad.
we owe you a real debt of gratitude. You are absolutely superb on council. And yeah.
You're in the Lions den over there. You got me and Archie to contend with now.
Bring it on, baby.
And
It's the Lions den down there.
envious department, she has a garage. So you may have more friends than you ever realized.
I've already got that garage space is already
Oh,
full, yes. There's no room at the end.
I get it, I get it. But thank you very much.
But you are staying on planning commission?
Well, I'm not on planning.
I mean, but you're
I'm
on.
on- I'm on
You're-
the
Well, no,
but you're gonna get
Kate's
on-
looking
hold
into
on.
the future.
You're gonna get on planning commission.
I probably will end up in that direction. Yes.
Well, let us encourage you. Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Mayor,
Yes.
There's an ad in the paper to that effect.
Please respond.
Give us another letter.
And Jared, I like your subtle arm twist. Thank you. Yeah.
By the way, I love Chris's letter. This is adorable, and I totally agree with him 100%. If you read the letter on the desk, but he wrote it on in 1900s.
that is
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
I want everybody
Spell
on
check.
council to know, because this is under the mayor and council type subject.
Yep.
I actually did call him and I left him a message that I thought, I agreed personally with everything in that letter. I think our city would benefit from any further noise reduction. And he makes, good points.
Well, it was, I actually asked this question when I first came on council, when the road construction was going on, going west on I-7. At that point in time, council, the city, was able to ask CDOT for a noise barrier. I don't think that the city, I did not know of this until after other constructions had gone on. So CDOT certainly does not make this well known,
Right.
but it's only during the course of the construction will they actually think about doing it. And we actually did, as council, ask CDOT why they didn't do it, and they did not have a good response.
Right.
They also didn't have a great response about the east side of town, that they aren't proposing to do the wall barrier.
My question would be, is there any way that we could, because he mentions, like exit 240, is there anything that we can roll into when we're doing the mobility?
Well, I think that's already in the plan, so we,
Was it, okay,
of that.
because that would help.
Well, it's not, wouldn't be very good. Most residents are out there, cars, whatever.
Yeah.
But if they do a park, that one semi-tire goes flying off the truck.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't be good, mow through someone's house. So I think that's already kind of in the works.
Well, I know when I asked the 4 Points folks about it, they said it was about 3 million per, what, like 100 feet or 1 mile or.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot.
I mean, it was really expensive, so.
Yeah, but I think we're probably all of the thought that less sound is better for our citizens.
Right, especially since the Jake Break guy seems to really, they still like to do it, even though they're not supposed to.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, occasionally you do see that.
Well, taking on truckers.
I will, Jimmy.
God.
It's really personal.
I know it is now because you moved.
Hey, I just want to point out, because it's some days away, our next work session and regular meeting is going to be September the 12th.
I do want to ask a question. I just volunteered today to do a library program on Halloween, which is on a Monday night. Can we not have a council meeting on that night? Just because I'm sure Jimmy wants to be with his kids, and maybe not, I don't know, Jimmy. John wants to be with his kids.
Yeah,
you know.
I dress up.
I'm actually-
I dress up, go downtown.
I don't have my, yes.
If I'm not mistaken, it might be a fifth Monday.
That's
Fifth
kind of what
Monday,
I,
October 31st is the fifth Monday.
well,
We got out of it.
wish granted.
And I didn't want to do it like another Valentine's Day. I don't think that's cool for people to have to choose between council or Valentine's.
I didn't. It was easy.
I know, I admired you for it. I just didn't have a date, so
I called you and I was like, are you serious, Kate?
Yeah, I was like, I think we're going.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, well, you just tell my age.
All right, now yes.
Yes.
Go to Europe. All right.
That's
Does anybody have anything else before we adjourn tonight?
No, sir.
I want to thank John Curtis for joining us via Zoom, even though he's out of state. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, guys.
And if no one has anything further, we'll call it adjourned at 7:44.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. John, I didn't realize you're out of state right now?
I will be in a couple of hours.
Okay, all right. Well, have fun.
Thank you.
Looks like you got your. Yeah, I thought he was in Hawaii.
Yeah, we like that shirt.
Thought he was in Hawaii or something. Well, happy